This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Best of the season to you all. A couple more days in 2021 with you here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Andrew Paterson, along with the CTO, Michael Remis. Really looking forward to this program. Still quiet on the Jets front. We'll talk a little bit about what happened at practice earlier today. Mike McIntyre was down there. We'll get you a few of his reports. And we will look forward to hopefully bringing on Kenny Wiebe for some more Jets talk tomorrow. But today, we're going to focus in on, well, the cancellation of the World Junior Hockey Championships. Chris Peters is going to pop on the program a little later on. And with all the bad news that is surrounding us right now, we're going to focus in on some good news. And that, of course, is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back-to-back Grey Cup championship. Cannot wait to have Andrew Harris, Bomber star running back, join us in a few minutes here on WST. As we get going, a big shout out and thanks to all the sponsors that make this show happen, including many of them that still have great Boxing Day deals right through until the weekend, including Royal Sports, our friends over at F Apparel, Vita Health, Culligan Water, Manitoba Battery, Not Autocorp, Little Brown Jug Brewing, Princess Auto, Boston Pizza, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Canadian Club Whiskey, and of course, our betting partners right here at Coolbet Canada. Just finished up the lock shop with Dusty, as well as Chris Abbott. If you're listening to the podcast and want some more talk about the upcoming NFL week, our picks, our boosted partner parlay, you can search for The Lock Shop on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and make sure you subscribe or head on over to our Twitter feeds. Dusty's just finished streaming it and you can certainly watch it live. Let's get Michael Remis in here as we get going on the day. Remo, what's good? How are you?
I'm feeling good. I had a bit of a, speaking of Manitoba Battery, I had a bit of a battery incident this morning where my car didn't start. Thankfully, I got one of those battery maintainers, so I would recommend that. I asked my Alexa speaker the temperature this morning before I left the house for work.
What did Alexa say?
She said minus 27.
And when you said left the house for work, I mean, are you working at a Tim Hortons, the morning shift or something? Before we get into what exactly work were you doing?
That was a joke.
Okay.
I work at home, but
I was like, wait a second, am I missing something here?
That's what people say. You know, left the house. No, I take my son to daycare in the morning. So, but I just wanted to say left for work. You know, I want to be like people who actually go to work, but thankfully I can just put on sweatpants and come downstairs.
Well,
every day.
You know what? It's a good gig to have right now. Because I mean, first and foremost, you're home. Although I am getting very stir crazy right now, without much to do and without many other places to go. And I know a lot of people, doing what we're doing right now, have sort of taken this week off. But like we were talking about yesterday, I mean, we could take days off. What the hell are we going to do? I mean, we'll probably just be having these same conversations off air. So we may as well do the show. Hey, just before we get to a little bit on Jets practice, T-Will, we're not going to talk about the Jets today. What am I going to complain about? Don't worry, we'll talk about it. The chat is open at all times. But Remo, tomorrow we'll do marbles. Today, though, we have curated a 2021 Winnipeg Sports Talk trivia game that we'll get to after Chris Peters today. I'm looking forward to this. Of course, we tried trivia last week for the first time, had a real good time doing it. And shout out to the winners who won those two nice toque. And I believe the Grey Cup trivia was that awesome Bombers Championship hats. I've got another one of those either heritage or reverse retro toques to give away. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. So folks, if you haven't already, we will let you know a little later on the show when you can enter. But we'll only have a maximum of 100 people to get in. We'll see whether we get to that number. But if you do want to play with us for some prizes, some fun Winnipeg-themed sports questions from 2021, that's coming up a little later on.
Yeah, we put those together. That's fun. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll do some marbles tomorrow. Little fun stuff heading into the new year, Hustler, at a time where my Twitter timeline is what's postponed today in the sports world, and I'm seeing a lot of junior games, but we did have, I know that a couple Jets games were postponed. They are playing Sunday. Unfortunately, it's in the afternoon during NFL. Not ideal, but I mean, that's fine. You just get a couple TVs out, or you use your tablet in conjunction with your TV or tablet and a laptop. I mean, depends on how many games you want to watch at once. But we did have some Jets notes. Has Vesalainen, he's out of protocol. He practiced. Cop, he didn't come to Canada. I guess he's not eligible. He's out of quarantine in the U.S., but he can't come here. So he's going to meet the team in Vegas. Svechnikov, non-contact yellow. And I think that was about, and then is the Nate Beaulieu experiment on forward, is that over? Because Mikey Eyssimont took his spot on the fourth line with Gustafsson and Vesala. Like, why? They have real forwards. I never understood why Beaulieu keeps taking like, they could have put in like that one game where he started on forward. Like, they had Vesalainen. It made no sense. He's not a forward. Like, well,
I'll be honest, I don't remember the circumstances for that.
I thought
that was one of those 11-7 events, and maybe a guy wasn't good to go. Yeah,
I think it was Minnesota. Maybe there was an injury that it's possible there's an injury they didn't say, but
the bottom line. Yeah, listen, I mean, Mikey Eyssimont, I mean, they signed him for a reason. I mean, he was going to be a depth player, with a guy on the taxi squad or get called up. I mean, now, again, he's on the taxi squad right now, so he's not on the roster. But I think what this indicates is that Andrew Kopp's going to be there. And here's the Kopp situation. This is from Dave Lowry, as reported by Mike McIntyre. Dave Lowry says Andrew Kopp is already skating in Michigan and is expected to be in the lineup Sunday in Las Vegas. He took his gear with him over the holidays, and he's out of quarantine in the U.S., but of course, unable to get back into Canada until next week. So, I mean, just sign of the times, I guess, how different it is for people south of the border and people north of the border. He's out of quarantine. He's back skating, getting ready to go. He'll meet the team in Las Vegas and be ready to play when the Jets resume their schedule on Sunday. Of course, the road trip was supposed to begin with a game on New Year's Eve in Calgary. That ain't happening. And the Jets will get back onto the ice on Sunday. They play Arizona and then play the Colorado Avalanche in that 3-game road trip, and then come back with another period of time off with those 2 games that have also been postponed early in January, the 8th and the 10th, which still fall under the current health orders of, never mind 50%, of 200 people, 250 people max at any events right now. So I'm really interested to see how things look. I would assume that Vesalainen and Kopp will both be good to go. And if that's the case, Reem, they'll be starting this important road trip, really only missing Captain Blake Wheeler, and probably looking very similar to the lineup that played against the St. Louis Blues, although it does look like David Gustafsson will be able to play it. Be nice to see him get in after getting the call up. We were all excited to see the Gus bus, and then he was knocked out, in the first half of the game against Washington and missed the game against the St. Louis Blues. So it does look like the Gus bus will get out of the garage once again on this road trip coming up.
Yeah, just going over the lines today. Stastny, Scheifele, Ehlers, Connor, Dubois, Harkins, Toninato, Lowry, Reichel, Eyssimont, Gustafsson, Vesalainen, and then Cease and Svechnikov. Svechnikov, again, yellow, non-contact. I'm assuming Kopp would probably slot in with Harkins, and then you move everyone down. We'll wait and see. And I do wonder, Huss, if we will see guys.
Well, no, hold on a sec. I think Kopp's taking the spot beside Adam Lowry.
Sorry, you're right.
Kopp and Lowry are going to be together. Now, what's interesting about this is where does I think we assume that Kopp will be on that side. So potentially right now it could be Jansen Harkins that gets the opportunity to play with the guys up front. With Connor and Dubois. That to me, and to me, I think that's the hole that Blake Wheeler probably ends up in coming back, as Svechnikov's still injured. So until he's able to get back in the lineup, there is a hole right now, and I just have a feeling that I think Dave Lowry's a fan of Jansen Harkins, and I think Harkins is going to be given some opportunity right now, especially with a couple guys out of the lineup, in particular Svechnikov and Blake Wheeler. to maybe play a little higher up. Now, does that mean that it's going to be Toninato, Kopp, and Lowry with Harkins in that spot? I think that is likely. Because to be honest, and maybe this is the fact that Vesalainen was out for the last little while with COVID, they're going to ease him in. But he was skating on the fourth line alongside David Gustafsson today. But he did have an opportunity at times to play up with Connor and Dubois. So who's on that right side for the game on Sunday, I think will be quite interesting. But I have a feeling, I mean, we expect Andrew Kopp to be back. And Kopp has played a lot in the top six this year, but I think we know that the identity of the third line completely different when Kopp and Lowry are playing together.
Yeah, and I kind of like that they had, I forgot, it's been so long since the Jets have played us that I forgot that they moved Kopp back with Lowry, and we saw that so much the last couple of years. I thought that was a great, it was a great pairing before, and it seems like that's what they're going with here, pairings. Shifley and Ehlers, a pair. Dubois, Connor, a pair. Lowry, Kopp, a pair. And we saw, even though they were the quote third line, they still got a lot of minutes. The Kopp line, because they're playing penalty kill, and Kopp does power play and penalty kill. And that's part of the reason why some games you've seen him lead the team in ice time. So I like this. Maybe Harkins can move in. I think it gives you some more balance. We're seeing a lot of questions about Cole Perfetti in chat now that the World Juniors have been canceled. I'm assuming he's going to start with the Moose, and then we'll see. But you do have to wonder, Huss, if the more guys get injured or go on the COVID list. I mean, does he get called up for a chance, or they keep going with the older Moose guys as part of the taxi squad? And I think that's something we have no idea how it's going to play out. How many guys are going to go on the list? I mean, when they go to the U.S., is someone going to get stuck at the border and test positive and not be able to come back? I mean, is that going to happen? I don't know. I mean, it could. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of possibilities right now. I mean, the one thing that we do know is that we're not seeing any home games for a little while here. And thank God that the team's going back out on the road so we can actually see them play hockey again. It was a pretty busy night in the National Hockey League last night. Number of games. Oilers lose again, man. Oilers now 3-7 in their last 10 games after starting, I believe, 15-5. And Remo, you'll get a kick out of this. I had 1260 on for a little bit, listening to Low Tide before we did the lock shop today, and he was going through. There's a lot of disgruntled fans right now with the way the Oilers have played over the past month, and more than one texter called in. Paul Maurice should already be on a flight to Edmonton right now. They're ready to. Oh yeah. The fan base ready to fire Dave Tippett, and a number of names bandied about, including the former head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. But I'll say this, I can kind of understand why some Oiler fans might think that way, because as much as Maurice took a ton of heat at times here in Winnipeg, I mean, if you're an Oiler fan and your last big memories of the Winnipeg Jets were those 2 games in November and the 4-game sweep of the Oilers last spring, you probably got a higher opinion of Maurice in Edmonton, at least, than in maybe many of the other cities right now. But I don't think Tip's getting fired anytime soon, but they're on a big road trip right now. The other thing that was interesting from last night, and it didn't end up in a win for the Buffalo Sabres, but Alex Tuck made his debut in Buffalo, a hometown guy coming over in that Jack Eichel trade. But I watched quite a bit of that game. I'll tell you what, I was really impressed with former Ice Captain Peyton Krebs. He made his Sabres debut last night, was all over the place. He's going to be a really, really exciting core piece, along with Dylan Cousins, of course, a World Junior hero from a couple years ago. I have a soft spot for Buffalo. I think their fans are amazing. They've been just served crap sandwiches year after year after year. It's exciting to see what's happening with the Bills over the last couple seasons. They're not losers and a laughingstock anymore. But my God, have the Sabres been dreadful. And, the Eichel saga behind them, now getting a chance to see some of the players that they got in was nice to see. And I know certainly Peyton Krebs has a lot of fans here in Winnipeg after what he did for the Ice organization.
Yeah, and one other story from last night we have to mention, talk about coaching changes. Seems to be everything's looking up for Vancouver now. 7 wins in a row for the Canucks under Bruce Boudreau. Absolutely incredible. Another win last night. I mean, this Vancouver team looked finished. They looked terrible. They make a coaching change, and it seems like everyone snapped out of their funk, and they're getting great goaltending, and they're back in the hunt for a playoff spot. I mean,
they're 1 point behind the Jets.
I've never
seen
1
point behind the Jets right now. Jets do have 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Winnipeg's 3 games above 500, 14, 11, and 5. And the Canucks, having rattled off 7 in a row and are 9-1 in their last 10, are 15, 15, and 2 after starting off. What were they? 5, 14, and something like that. I mean, it's been a stunning turnaround. And I'll tell you what, I don't have any love for the Canucks, but I mean, everybody loves Bruce Boudreau. So the fact that he's having this great start, I think it's huge for that market. I mean, it's been a dreadful run. And the fact they cleaned house and have such a quick turnaround, at least to be playing significant games, because I know we talked to Matt Sakaris a few weeks ago, Reem, on the program. They were already in next year territory 6 weeks into the season, and Smiling Bruce has come on the bench, giving a lot of energy both to the team and the fan base. And tell you what, that turnaround has been one of the great stories heading into the new year.
Yeah, I think so. I think fan sentiment in Vancouver was pretty bad. They're chanting for the firing of the GM, throwing jerseys on the ice, complete house cleaning, and here you are, 7-0. And never thought that would happen. I was like, you think, oh, it's the same players. What can a coach do? But it seems like the team has a more positive mindset. I mean, that's the only explanation, right? Doesn't like what's really changed? And maybe they're getting better goaltending. I don't know, but pretty incredible. I'm fascinated by what's happening in Vancouver.
The magic dust of Bruce Boudreau with the Vancouver Canucks. So, we will focus more and we will talk more, kind of look ahead, do a full preview, both on the upcoming year, but in particular, tomorrow's, this upcoming road trip tomorrow. Billick and hopefully Kenny's going to join us. We'll see how Kenny's doing coming through COVID protocol. But we certainly will be talking more on the Jets as they hit the road after New Year's Eve and get out to Vegas to begin that 3-game road trip on what's it, a Saturday afternoon game. So I think it's a 3:00 Central Time. I guess that's a 1:00 time, 1:00 game in Vegas, Reem.
Sunday, I think it's at 2, if I'm correct. 2 Central Time. The Jets game you're talking about?
Yeah, Jets in Vegas.
Yeah, isn't it 2? I remember looking at that. It's 3. So
yeah,
you get to watch the NFL morning games.
Perfect. And then, Chiefs Bengals sliding right into the Jets Golden Knights on Sunday afternoon, and that'll be good. Obviously, Friday looking very different than what we'd maybe planned at the beginning of the week. A nice little doubleheader with Canada and Finland, and then the Jets and Calgary Flames, and now all of that off the board. We ended up having to do college football playoff picks on the lock shop today for Friday because unfortunately not a lot of other things going on.
We did just get people are asking about Perfetti. We did just get an alert from the Jets PR. They must know we're on right now to send these out. But
thanks, guys.
Yeah,
what's the breaking news?
Well, it's not breaking, but as we expected, the Jets have reassigned Cole Perfetti from the junior team to the Moose. So he'll start with the Moose, see how it goes. Although I don't think the Moose are playing home games, right? Because of
exactly
because of the arena.
They're not going to put him on the taxi squad and have him sit around for the better part of the next little bit. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, I think that depending on what happens with health of players when it comes to the power play, that's a spot that maybe Perfetti would pop into. So we'll keep an eye on that. As I mentioned, we're going to talk more about the cancellation of the World Junior Tournament and Perfetti with Chris Peters a little bit later on. But with all this BS we're dealing with, we're going to talk about something much more uplifting. And that, of course, is the Bombers Grey Cup Championship with Andrew Harris in just a second. Before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to our friends at F Apparel. We mentioned they're having a huge Boxing Week sale right now up until the 31st, 20% off your entire purchase in store or online. If you don't want to leave the house, go to that's EPHFapparel.com. Plus 50% off accessories, ties, tie clips, pocket squares, socks, etc. They're, of course, downtown at 190 Smith Street, but check out the website, fapparel.com. You can do a lot of that Boxing Day shopping without even leaving the house. And when you are able to pop down, incredible custom clothing for men, including suits starting at $400. That is the place to go. Shop local. Great guys, our friends over at F Apparel. We've also got a lot going on over at Vita Health right now. and many of you looking to maybe make a few changes into the lifestyle going into January, there's a couple things you can do. If you're thinking about a sober January, VitaHealth has some amazing items to help you get through the month, including non-alcoholic beer from Sober Carpenter and Neil Brothers, as well as Soul Brew elixirs, Boreal botanicals, and clever mocktails. And if you're maybe thinking about going full John Rush and going veganuary, trying veganism for the month of January, VitaHealth has so many plant-based and vegan products: Tofurkey, Field Roast, Gardein, The Very Good Butchers, Light Life, Beyond Meat, and more. And of course, VitaHealth is stocked with Winnipeg's best selection of local, organic, and natural groceries, supplements, and beauty products, all at great prices, with a very knowledgeable and trained staff to help you get the right products for what you're looking to do. They're open until 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve, and then close New Year's Day, back to regular hours next week. 7 locations, including the newest store in Linden Ridge. Check them out online as well. VitaHealth Fresh Market online at myvita.ca. And when we're talking about all the great healthy things you're doing, it always starts with being hydrated and drinking lots of water. And Culligan has been the water experts in Winnipeg for 65 years. Of course, they've got it all: water softeners, filters, bottled water coolers, and whole home systems, citywide water delivery services, as well as commercial and industrial water products and solutions. And their December special is still on. Culligan Water, $9.99 a month for the first 3 months. Give the gang a call. Tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. 1200 Sargent Avenue, 694-5180. Or online at drinkculligan.com. All right, let's have some fun. Can't wait for this next guest. He, of course, is one of the stars of the back-to-back Grey Cup champs. Man, that never gets old. Let's welcome in Andrew Harris back to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Andrew, best of the season to you, my friend. What's going on?
Just hanging out, man. It's been a quiet Christmas, but enjoying as best as I can, and it's good to be back on the show. Thank you.
Well, it's great to have you, and obviously, it did. A weird time for everybody involved. Where the weather, no matter where you are in Canada right now, but especially here in Winnipeg, and with all the doom and gloom around a lot of things that's happening with us, there still is a buzz amongst Bomber fans right now after what you and your teammates were able to accomplish. Fill us in. What was the week leading into Christmas like when you and the guys got back and got to parade that Grey Cup around Winnipeg before things got crazy?
Yeah, it was cool. Like, we got back on the plane from the plane, and the plane was absolutely madness. Like, everyone was still kind of tired, but the excitement's still raging, and everyone is just enjoying the moment. And boom, as soon as you land, there's all types of festivities going on in the locker room and around the city. And I honestly took a step back and kind of just watched from afar. And I didn't really dabble as much as I used to, or in 19 per se, and took a bit of a backseat to the whole thing, and it was kind of a different feel for me. But just watching and seeing and feeling the vibe from the city, and how emotional the guys were after that win. In the locker room on the parade day was amazing, and seeing the fans come out and the excitement within the city, and it doesn't get any better than how we won, and it doesn't get any better how the season went. And even with the COVID year, it just it was amazing. So just taking it all in and seeing the excitement, it was a great to be part of. And it's hard to describe each cup and how they mean to you and how different they are. But this one for me was really sweet for sure.
Let's talk about the game. The win in Hamilton. And it was a very different game than the win over the Ticats in Calgary in 2019. In 19, you guys came in as an underdog, but had an incredible amount of belief in your team. And to put it succinctly, the guys on the offensive and defensive line kicked their ass for 60 minutes. And it wasn't really close going down the stretch. This was a very different football game. Certainly you guys were the favorites as opposed to being the underdogs, but you also had a Hamilton team that I think maybe surprised a lot of observers as to the way they were able to handle offensive and defensive lines that were so dominant all season long. You were on the field. What did you make of the way the Ticats came at you guys on the line of scrimmage, and what did that force you guys to do, especially later on in the football game?
Well, the biggest thing in that game was the wind. The wind was an absolute factor. The field position was crucial. Deferring to the second half and getting that win in the fourth quarter was absolutely massive for us. And even when you're running down the field, just jogging, trying to warm up, you could feel the wind actually pushing you and moving faster when you're with it, right? But as far as their O lines and D lines, like, I mean, their front seven was amazing. Their run stop defense was lights out, and it was tough sledding all game pretty much until we kind of got that momentum in the fourth and going to overtime to create some first downs. But yeah, I mean, it was a tough environment. The fans were right behind us and saying all types of nonsense, and with the wind, and I remember looking at the clock with 10 minutes left in the fourth, and we're down 22-10, and just feeling that momentum of like, okay, we got the win now, and we just got to go handle business. And we did that. I mean, the receivers made absolute crazy plays, and our defense stood up when they needed to. Yeah, it was an amazing game to be a part of, for sure.
You know what? You mentioned that 12-point deficit in the fourth quarter. And to a man, every player in your team says there was not 1 ounce of doubt amongst the group. And I guess you earned that playing the way you have over the last couple of seasons. But is that really true? I mean, you're still down 12 points in the fourth quarter of a championship game against a team that was playing quite well. I mean, where was your headspace at right now? And how are you guys able to kind of overcome over 3 successive possessions to get the lead and win?
Yeah, I mean, I remember in the third quarter there was a group of fans right behind the bench, and every time I came out the field after a tune-out or whatever, they had something to say. And put it politely, I said, wait till the fourth quarter, MFs, and then sure enough, we get that win, and a couple big plays and big catches, and you could just feel the momentum coming. But there was definitely no doubt. I think that our team was very tight knit, and we stick together, and there wasn't any pointing fingers, and it was just a feeling that we were going to do this. I went up to O'Shea and I asked him, closer to the overtime, I was like, how's it going to play out? And he literally just spit out a perfect storybook ending. I mean, that's not how it worked, but he was just on the fly. For him to just spit it out so confidently and say, we're going to win this toss here. Our defense is going to go out there and stop them, and you guys are going to go and score a touchdown and win the game. I mean, it worked out a little differently than that, but just the confidence in the coach's voice, and confidence in the O-line when I come out the field, and the confidence in myself to go tell some junk belligerent fans from Hamilton, just wait till the fourth quarter, guys, and this game's about to turn around. So all around, it was just everyone felt the vibe that it was going to happen, and
you called your shot, and obviously it came out that way. But talk about the crowd a little bit, because I mean, it was interesting watching the broadcast afterwards. I think many of us thought that, well, I mean, it's in Hamilton, but it's still the Grey Cup. So, I mean, you'll have the majority of fans cheering for the Ticats, but I mean, you'll have Bomber fans and some fans from elsewhere. And I'm assuming probably it's more because of the times that we're living in and COVID and people not traveling. But I mean, it was somewhat shocking to look into that stand. I mean, it was 95-5 maybe for Ticats. And I mean, that was, I think, as far as Grey Cups go, as significant a home field advantage as we've seen for a long time. I mean, did you guys feel that right when you went out at the beginning of the game?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been to, I've played in 3 Grey Cups, and, I've been to probably another 6 or 7, not playing. And usually there's a bunch of different fans throughout the crowd, and they're all kind of spread out. But it seemed, honestly, like everyone was in black, and there was little pockets of blue, and there's little pockets of other things. But I mean, even the way they spread out our fans, I mean, it was hard to have a section other than like the friends and family section, which was on the other side of the field. And another thing that's weird about Eastern teams is everyone's on the same sideline, right? So you're all spread out on the one sideline, and you don't really get to feel the fans on the other side as much. But yeah, it was definitely a blackout, and definitely one where we felt, there wasn't too many blue and gold in the stands. But then after the game, it was like everyone there was wearing blue and gold, So. Yeah, it was a weird dynamic, and a tough place to play, and even in the regular season, I mean, it's not an easy place to go and play, and it was with the wind and the blackout, and it just couldn't have been better. It could have been a better ending just based on the adversity and the things we were going through.
Hey, you've been in this league for a while, played in a number of Grey Cups, but this was the one in the COVID year. And I mean, thank God the game happened when it did. I mean, if we even went a week or two later with what we're dealing with right now, who knows what would have happened. But how different was Grey Cup week for you and your teammates as opposed to 2019 or some of the others because of the protocols and everything that we were going through? Was it significantly different or not too much?
Yeah, it was quite a bit different. I mean, for the most part, you want to be focused and you're with the team and you're doing those activities. But everything we did was from people coming to the hotel, from people friends and family coming in, and everything was under a watch. And you have to be kind of careful of not breaking protocol or having someone that you might have been from the East Coast, West Coast, no matter where they came from, just coming in and breaking that protocol. So I mean, for us, we stuck together as a team, and it just allowed you to kind of just lock down and hunker down that way. And even as far as traveling to and from practices and meetings and stuff was a lot different. And but I mean, it's something that we've kind of been used to all year and adapted to. And like you said, I mean, look with the World Juniors right now, it's shutting down big tournaments and how the world's changed in the last 3 weeks is been tough. But thankfully that the CFL did a great job with the protocol and upholding all the standards that we had. And on our team especially, we had 0 cases throughout the whole year, and that's a testament to that's a testament to just how good our staff was and how much the team bought in, the players bought into just focusing on winning football games and making sure that we were able to come in every day and earn a paycheck and work towards winning this Grey Cup.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because and I look at the National Football League and what they've been going through. And at the beginning of the season, I mean, Bruce Arians came out, they had 100% vaccination. They had no issues. The Chiefs, another top team, was the same way. And then you saw some of the other teams that were dealing with, guys that weren't in for whatever reason. I'm not getting political on this, but it was quite interesting to see the buy-in, the 99% buy-in of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from the get-go. And it really didn't seem like that was an issue at any point. And, part of being a championship club, I think, is acknowledging the circumstances, dealing with them. And it certainly seemed from the outside looking in that your team did about as good of a job of that as anyone. And that had to be a big part of your success really throughout the season from game one.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're very, kind of fit in, our F-off kind of mentality, and and whether that's a team event, whether that's how we practice, whether how we handle meetings, and everyone bought in from the get-go. And I think the biggest thing for us in a weird year like this is we had very little turnover. We had a lot of veteran guys in the group, and then the young guys who came in, the rookies on defense and people that stepped in roles all kind of fit in seamlessly and bought in, and there was no gaps of trying to reel rookies in or make guys kind of understand what the message was here. So I mean, when it came to the COVID year and all the things that we had to deal with, we just knew what we really had to do and just hunker down. And it wasn't the best year. We didn't get to do as much stuff on the road or even at home here to kind of bond. But we also had enough veteran guys that had been around and knew each other already enough to know that there was some solidarity there and unity and we had one goal and one purpose and just buying into that.
Andrew Harris, Bombers star running back and back-to-back Grey Cup champion with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Before we talk about the end of the game, I want to go back a week earlier to the West Final. Yeah. And I mean, hey, we're both Winnipeg guys. I mean, you've been on the field. I've been in the stands my entire life. That game, I will remember it as long as I live. One of the most special atmospheres from a crowd perspective, and an incredible game in some really extreme conditions. You've played in a lot of games, both here in Winnipeg and around the Canadian Football League. I mean, 5 years down the road, when people say, "Hey, what do you remember about that cold game against the Riders to get to the Grey Cup in 21?" What stands out to you about that victory over Sask?
Well, I mean, for myself, it was an emotional one. I mean, I just kind of, throughout the season, I, missed the first bit and kind of got on a roll and then was out for, 6-7 weeks. And I knew that was going to be a tough game, throwing wise because of the conditions and how windy it was and how cold it was. And, that to me was, for me, a statement game for me to, say I'm back and I'm back in the lineup here and I want to make some big plays. And, I had a couple guys in the Riders that I had targeted that I wanted to just run over as many times as possible and let them know about it. And and I was able to do that multiple times and get the crowd going. And, when you come out there in the second half and the wind's picked up, another 20 kilometers or so, and it's way colder, and the fans are still in the crowd going nuts. And, it was a special game on many fronts. And, a December game in Winnipeg is something you'll never ever see again, I don't think. And it was beautiful to be able to have a big game in that, and punch our ticket to the Grey Cup and have a big impact on that one. So
and I mean, I still think back to the first half. I mean, it was sort of bizarre. I mean, you guys probably should have been up 14-0, and we're down 7-0 early on. There was 5 turnovers, which could not be more uncharacteristic of this football team. And yet at halftime, you're only down 3 points. And, if this had happened 2 years ago before you guys had won in 2019, I guarantee you the atmosphere around the concourse at halftime would have been a little different. But it really did seem like there was a lot of confidence in the club because of where you guys were and what you'd already been through. What was it like in the locker room at halftime, being down 3 after turning the football over 5 times?
Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, because I had a few people that reached out to me and said, I haven't been to a game in, a couple of years. Me and my dad had season tickets, or, and we stopped getting them, and we stopped coming to games. And then we come to this game, and you guys are down 7 and a bunch of turnovers, and we're like, oh, here we go again, and the way that they described, how we won, and their moments that they had shared with their dad or their family or whatever it was kind of cool to hear that. But also too, like, we've been here before, and I mean, not so far, not so much of the turnovers, but when we're in the locker room, we looked at how poorly we played and how many times we caught the ball up and said, hey, we're only down this margin here, and if we just tighten up, we're shooting ourselves in the foot here right now, fellas. So again, it was the same kind of cool, calm, collective. Other than the fact that BA got poked in the eye and everyone was freaking out about Duke Williams a little bit and wanted to take their shot at him. But other than that, I mean, we were really just locked in and ready to get back out there and just play our style of football and go get that win.
Andrew Harris with us, talking about the Bombers' back-to-back Grey Cup wins on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Okay, let's go back to the game in Hamilton. You guys win the Grey Cup in overtime. Well, first off, I got to ask you, as a guy that appreciates every aspect of football and knows how great your defense was this year, what was it like being on the sidelines when you saw not 1, not 2, but 3 guys get their hands on a football, and maybe the most appropriate way ever, a walk-off championship-winning interception with 3 guys getting in on it? It seemed like an appropriate way for this season to end. I mean, take us through the final play from your eyes, Andrew.
Well, I mean, I've seen a bunch of clips, and I think I'm the first guy to run on the field with my dirty mustache and looking like Mario, just super excited about it. But I was right there, the best view, on the field there, and it was just amazing how many times our defense, just made that little, like one finger on the ball, we're down on the goal line, and Diedrich makes that big play, and and then it gets another opportunity, and it touches 3 hands, and the savvy of Winston just to kind of keep it up, and it was just it was amazing to see, amazing to be part of, and a guy like Carey who's been very quiet. He makes his plays, and he had some adversity this year throughout the season, and for him to get that last play, and I think he held that ball like no one was taking that thing from him for so long, and everyone jumped out there, and it was just like boom. It took me a second actually. I'm like, oh, we got an interception. Oh, we won the game. It was like a damn, like this is it. It's over. We're done. And then just the excitement and the craziness and the emotion, and absolutely amazing.
Andrew, after the game, the celebration seemed a little bit different for you in 2021 than in 2019, and there was a moment. And people, if they've got the game PVR, they probably watched it a few times already. Where you sat down and took a knee in the end zone and just sort of had a moment. Tell us about that. What were you thinking? What was going through your mind, and what were you doing at that point?
Well, like I said, man, it was a very emotional year for me, and I had a few moments, throughout the year that were tough moments for me, and when you accomplish your final goal, and you're sitting there and you're looking, watching, and sometimes it's just nice to kind of just sit back and take it all in, and for me it was just a moment there for me to kind of just sit down and said, like, you set out to do something, you have a goal in mind, and through all the ups and downs and the rocky part of whether it be life, whether it be sport, whether it be injury, to kind of just take it all in, and and that's all I was doing. I was just sitting there and just taking a moment to be away from everyone and just watch everyone kind of celebrate and enjoy it, and just kind of say, wow, it happened, and it did it again. And pretty cool moment. I mean, even as far as, I wasn't on the stage. I wasn't kind of like in the big thick of things throughout the whole celebration. I really just took a step back and kind of watched and took it from a different perspective. And it was beautiful, man. To be able to enjoy it from a rookie to a veteran, and being, all in it, and then to be able to, be a veteran and watch it from a kind of a back perspective, and it just allows you to enjoy it from all angles. And but yeah, I mean, the whole game, the whole moment was amazing. And you're getting me emotional here thinking about it again. And I wish I could go back and go do it again.
Well, Andrew, and I do have to tell you this. I had a great conversation and extended chat with Bob Irving after the Grey Cup, and I mean, Bob is synonymous with Blue Bomber football, and I put this to him because I figured he'd be the best person to adjudicate this take. But especially now with the back-to-back championships, and you think about what would happen with this organization in the 29 years before 2019, and really before you got here. I had said, and he agreed with me, that I think your free agent signing is the most significant free agent signing in Winnipeg Blue Bomber history. And you're a Winnipeg guy. You now have back-to-back championships. You literally have set out. I mean, you said when you came here, you wanted to come here, bring a different attitude, bring a winning attitude, and start something special. And you and your teammates have done that. I mean, now that you're a couple weeks removed and you've had some fun with the Grey Cup, you know what I mean? What's it like being a Winnipeg guy that's come back, setting out to do something? I've done it not once, but twice in back-to-back fashion.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that's kind of what allowed me to kind of appreciate it a little differently, because I mean, the first one was it was underdogs, and we came out from playing in tough places, from Calgary to Saskatchewan to being underdog against Hamilton, and then this year we really dominated all year, and there was no real other than our couple losses that were early in the season, and then in meaningless games. We really dominated in throughout the season, and had a certain type of leadership and attitude and way of going throughout the year. And to be a part of that from a different side, from underdog to trying to turn this whole thing around, and you kind of just really appreciate and there's a sense of pride of what you've been a part of, but also been an impact person in the locker room, on the field, and been able to be that way in the community as well. And I mean, yeah, I appreciate everything, my teammates, my coaches, and all the guys who have been a part of this. And again, it just kind of goes to show, what we built in the locker room to, have the same players come back, that came back this year. And in a year where a bunch of guys took massive pay cuts to get under the salary cap, or just be a part of this, or come back from their situations that they were in. And I mean, and it just goes to show, how special this group was. And again, I definitely take a lot of pride in being a part of that, and being part of that change of the attitude and the mantra. But I mean, Coach O'Shea and organization, they put all these pieces together, and, definitely grateful for them to, have me in mind to be one of the guys who were instrumental in changing of this curve and this wave. And, but ultimately you can't do this without your teammates and coaches, and as significant as one signing may be, and one person within it, it takes a full group effort, and guys working together with a common goal, and there can't be any weak links in the chain. It all has to go seamlessly and work together. And when someone falls down or slips up, or isn't holding their weight, just be there and have each other's backs, and make sure that the train keeps moving.
Andrew Harris with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. I got to ask you about Coach O'Shea. I mean, to a man, any player that we talk to, I mean, you can just tell that there is a special relationship between players and the coach. I mean, what's it like playing for O'Shea, and why is he why is he the leader that he is, and how's he been so successful getting the most of a very talented team?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's like I don't even really consider him a coach. Look at him as a big brother, or uncle maybe. But he seems like family, and when he has something to say, everyone listens, and he's really just he gets the most out of every opportunity. And the way that he thinks, the way he thinks the game and the way how he approaches the game is something I've never seen before. And the one thing I love about Osh is that he thinks as a player would, and then he's a leader, and all his experience kind of comes in after. But he really gets his players to understand that this is where this is where I've been in these situations, and and whether it be on or off the field, and he understands the things that we go through, and he's not out there dictating. He lets us make the decisions within the locker room, and has a sprinkle on how he wants to maybe see it go, like, follow through, but really lets the veterans lead. And it's amazing coaching for him, or playing for him, and learning his coaching style, and just seeing how he can relate to someone like me who's been in the league for 12 years, and then someone who's a rookie, and still have that same message, and it's not any different based on, it doesn't waver based on experience or age or what you play or where you're playing at, and it's amazing to see.
Andrew, going into 2022, we got a new year coming up. I've got to ask you, have you thought much about 2022? Have you still been sort of basking in the glory of the back-to-back championships? I mean, where are you at on continuing career? What's to come for 2022? Or is that still in the kicking around in the dome and figuring it out in the weeks and months to come?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like, I still got some gas left in the tank here. And I think that, I'm just going to kind of reevaluate it after, I'm going to take some time here. I'm heading out to Mexico right away here, and enjoying the beach and some tequila, and, soak that in for a bit. And then when I get back from doing, just enjoying myself, I'll really have to sit down and really ponder it and figure out what's next. And, see what the team wants to do, what direction they want to go in. But I still, obviously, I feel like I can still contribute, and and having a proper year, as well going forward here. I mean, no one's telling what's going to happen the next little while here with all the COVID stuff, but I really just want to put my best forward if possible, and coming into a full 18-game season and doing it the right way, and maybe just giving it one shot at the can, or one more kick at the can, but we'll see how it unfolds. And at this point, I'm just being I'm open to anything right now. So, well,
I'll tell you what. First things first. Get out of here. Go enjoy some warm weather. Yeah. Enjoy some cocktails on the beach. You certainly deserve it. And I will tell you, I mean, the chat, far too many to go through, but I mean, tons of Bomber fans wishing you the best, thanking you for the back-to-back championships, and congratulating you on everything you've done here in your hometown as now a back-to-back Grey Cup champion. Happy New Year, man. Have a great trip, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in 2022.
Sounds good, man. Happy New Year, and take care.
Right on. Bye. There he is, Andrew Harris, back-to-back Grey Cup champion with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Really fun conversation with Andrew, and we thank him and DC for joining us today, and Darren Cameron, of course, from the Bombers, helping us set it up. All right, we're going to get to more aftermath from the World Juniors in just a second. Hey, it's the extreme cold warning still here. I've been telling you for months, you better be ready for it. And to get ready for it, you need your car to be starting. And Donnie and the gang down at Manitoba Battery are your go-to guys. Now, you may have left it too late, true, but if you do need a battery right now, which is quite possible, shop local, get it at the best price in town. And while you're there, you can pick up some heavy duty booster cables. Everything you need to get through the winter is over at Manitoba Battery. Not to mention, listen, I'm not a big stickadoo, and this even seems crazy to think about going outside right now, but there are people that'll be doing it. It'll be getting nicer. Batteries for all sorts of sleds from $65 to $75 usually over at Manitoba Battery. You can find them at 1026 Logan Avenue. Give them a call at 783-8787. They will deliver to you. Often that is necessary because your car is not moving. And of course, you can find out more online at manitobabattery.com. We just had Andrew Harris on. All that amazing Blue Bomber Grey Cup Championship merchandise is in at Royal Sports right now over at 750 Pembina Highway. An incredible selection of Jets gear, and a lot of it on sale right now as part of their big Boxing Week extravaganza. Whether it comes to hockey equipment, snowboarding gear, licensed merchandise, Royal Sports is the undisputed heavyweight champ of sports merch here in Winnipeg. And you can also check out some of the great deals they've got going on the King Skate, Snow, and Surf side. Follow them on Insta at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest on what they're pumping out and their latest deals. And of course, pop down and see them at Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. And, we were just talking about cars not starting. You might need a new battery. Some might say, man, 2022, I just need a new whip entirely. If you're thinking about a new vehicle, do nothing before you start off talking to the folks over at Knott Auto Corp at Waverly and McGillivray. Why not get into the car of your dreams at a great price with the help of the Knott team? Dozens of Teslas on the lot, a ton of other great vehicles, including 4x4s, SUVs. They've got it all, and they will get you the best deal in town on it. And if you're looking for a vehicle they don't have, they'll help you source it and find it as well. Of course, Winnipeg Car Lab open, also on the lot at Waverly and McGillivray. You can find out more online at knott.ca, and a big happy new year to our friends over at Knott. All right. Just a terrible ending to the World Junior Hockey Championships yesterday. As you were probably watching, we were live on the air, and we got the news first from Chris Peters that a meeting was happening, and then the white smoke came out of the Vatican of Bob McKenzie's tweet when you knew, oh man, this is really happening. But it's a pleasure to welcome in from DailyFaceoff, the NHL Draft and Prospects analyst, Chris Peters. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters. Chris, thanks a lot for doing this. Kind of sucks what we're talking about, but best of the season to you, my friend.
Yeah, same to you. And yeah, it sucked. I mean, honestly, that's the only way you can say it at this point. It's been a really tough couple of days, most of all for the players and the coaches that spent so much time preparing, that went through all the protocols, that did everything they were supposed to do. And, as we sadly learned, it wasn't enough. And things moved really fast yesterday, and it's really unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. I do think that this was probably the only outcome that was coming based on some of the things that happened at the beginning. And I'm really, really disappointed on behalf of the players that things were not handled better, and they were given a better opportunity to really have success in this tournament, because I don't think it had to go down the way that it did. But, if the protocols were even a little bit different, or the hotel situation was different, maybe we would still be having a World Junior Championship. But with the Omicron variant, as we all know, everything changes every day, and we have no idea exactly what we're supposed to do or how we're supposed to do it. We just that's all we can do, is just kind of try to follow the leadership and see where things go. But a real unfortunate thing, and I think a real touch point in COVID versus sport when we're talking about canceling the World Juniors as it's happening.
No, there's no doubt about it. As I mentioned, you were the first guy to sort of float out yesterday. There was a meeting that was happening, and canceling this tournament was absolutely on the tail. It was on the table. If you could take us back to yesterday, what were you hearing, and at what point did you realize that we were probably on the verge of the worst case scenario for all parties involved?
Yeah. So basically, my whole day started on the trail of trying to find out if the U.S. was going to be able to play Sweden. They had 2 players test positive. They forfeited their game against Switzerland the day before. There was hope that they would present 2 negative tests for all players. As we now know, that all other players on USA tested negative, so they would have been able to play. However, there was a bit of what I had heard, and actually I learned it more from Bob McKenzie's report initially, was that the 2 roommates of the players that tested positive were testing negative, but all of a sudden they were asked to isolate for an extra day as well, which would have knocked them out. And that would have left the U.S. with 1 goaltender. And that would have made it really difficult to play. Otherwise, you're putting a position player in as your e-bug, and which is allowed in the rules, but certainly not what you would expect at the World Junior Championship when you have 3 goaltenders on your roster. Anyway, things really moved fast from there. Czechia, they had a positive player. Their game was canceled. If there was 1 positive test on the team, everyone went into isolation. And that's why we had those forfeits. Very late in the process, as we learned after the fact, after the reports came out, Russia had a late positive. Their game was canceled, and that was then a 3rd cancellation and forfeit. At that point, things moved very fast. An emergency meeting was convened. The tournament directorate, the IIHF council, the medical personnel, and everybody else got together and said, we have all these positive cases. What are we going to do? How is this going to work? They felt the integrity of the tournament was now compromised. And that's when they made the decision ultimately to cancel the remainder of the tournament. As we've learned now today, 6 additional players and 1 on-ice official have tested positive. So we were heading this direction regardless of if it happened yesterday or today. Any hope of the tournament going forward was pretty much dashed at that point. So it moved extremely fast. So from starting to trying to find out if the U.S. was going to be able to play to basically things devolving from 2 cancellations, I would say within about a 2-hour period, we went from there being games on to the tournament being completely canceled. So it was a very quick and quickly deteriorating type of situation right there. So very, very challenging for everyone involved. And certainly the players are absolutely devastated by what ended up transpiring.
Chris Peters with us discussing the cancellation of the World Junior Hockey Championships here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. You know, you mentioned off-ice officials. I mean, one of the other reports that I heard, I believe was from Bob, but, you know, apologies if it was from somebody else, that they'd had like 5 officials also test positive. And, you know, everyone was worried about the teams and the players. But I imagine, I mean, when you talk about a variant spreading the way that it has been, you know, everywhere, you know, in addition to the teams, there was a lot of stress in other areas of the entire operation leading to what we heard yesterday.
Yes, there was. I mean, there was, and the teams were so frustrated because the protocols changed daily. And they felt like the goalposts were moving on them. They thought, you know, when they actually came to the tournament, the protocol was if there was a positive test and everyone else was vaccinated and not symptomatic, they didn't have to isolate. When that changed, that really kind of threw everything off. The other thing is that, you know, volunteers and people that worked the tournament last year stayed in the bubble. They did not do that this time. And so that's one of the another complaint. The teams were staying in hotels that were sold, that had rooms sold to the general public. And while they had their own dedicated floors, from what I understand from talking to everybody, there were so many people in and out of that hotel in Red Deer where most of the teams were staying that it was an impossibility to avoid contact with the outside world. So you're talking about people that aren't going through the same testing protocol. The solution for that problem, as opposed to trying to shore up isolation protocols and make sure that they weren't there, the solution was instead to do daily testing, which was not the initial plan. So they go to daily testing at that point, and that's where things really started to unravel because you had a lot of asymptomatic players that were popping positive tests. They were taking rapid tests between PCR tests, and the rapid tests were showing that they were negative. The PCR tests were showing, which is the more important one that you have to clear, was showing that they were positive. So there was a roller coaster of emotions happening there. And meanwhile, basically everyone's trying to play catch up. So the protocols that they had in place for this tournament were not built for this Omicron variant. There, you know, basically there probably should have been a move to eliminate fans from the building. There should have probably been a plan to make sure that the players were more strictly isolated from the general public. But I don't think there was enough time logistically to do that. Everything was, you know, people had already booked hotels for travel that were actually coming to the tournament. So it became this thing that no one could get their arms around. And that ended up really costing them, is that the decisions that they had to make to protect the tournament had to be made way further in advance than December 15th when all the teams arrived.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I mean, I'll tell you, full disclosure, and I've mentioned this before to people on the program, but I mean, I'm a former Hockey Canada employee. I mean, worked for just about 2 years putting on the World Women's Hockey Championships when it was here in Winnipeg. And I mean, you really get a taste of how much goes into putting on an event like this. And you've got your people with boots on the ground here in the city. You've got the governing body, the IIHF is involved, the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers that go to put on. And there's so much that goes into it. That's the same for any one of these events. The fact that, you know, we were in this COVID bubble, it sort of really did seem that, you know, for events that are usually so tied down from every single inch, that is it safe to say they were pretty much caught by surprise by this? I mean, this was something that just simply wasn't planned on it, because my God, when you hear stories about a wedding in the Red Deer Hotel that other teams are in, I mean, like at this point, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, but you're like, well, what the hell did you think was going to happen? I mean, how much navel gazing is there right now amongst the people that are putting this tournament on, do you think, because of the way that it ended so drastically and quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there is. And basically, you know, the teams, from what Hockey Canada said yesterday, and like you, I'm a former USA Hockey employee. So, you know, I have worked at these tournaments as well and fully understand and appreciate how difficult they are to run and how much work goes into it. But I would say that the decision to have teams in hotels that were not exclusive to the tournament was always a mistake. I think because COVID didn't go away in the year since the last tournament. It was always there. They thought it would be better, but it wasn't. And I think that knowing how quickly things change, to not have the hotel situation locked down is ultimately what is going to cost this tournament from happening, is my feeling. The teams feel very strongly that the interactions that they were unable to avoid in the hotels are the reason they tested positive. Now, I will say in Edmonton, the same situation, their hotels where Canada and Finland were staying were not exclusive to the tournament. They were, I know scouts were staying in the same hotel, general public ticket holders, they were staying in the same hotel. It was just but it sounds like it was a little bit harder to avoid the general public if you were in Red Deer. So that is essentially what cost this tournament. And that's, I think, ultimately what they're going to have to decide. And now there's another thing that I think is important to note. And I wrote about this in my column on my Substack site as well. And I think it's one of the big things that is going to be discussed in sports overall is how often should we test, who should be tested, and why? And those are the types of things. Is it because the general public typically is not going to be going for a test unless they're symptomatic or they've come into close contact with a confirmed positive. And I think in order to get the sign off from the health officials that they could do this tournament, basically they wanted daily testing is preventative testing, correct? It's almost looking for the problem. That's like a really crude way to say it, but that is what it is, because you're looking for those positive cases. I think there's going to be some discussion over time as we've seen NCAA bowls get canceled, as we've seen other things get canceled. What exactly should we be doing with testing, especially when we think that Omicron is a potentially less severe disease? Now, I realize that this is getting into very trepidatious waters here, and I'm not trying to make a general statement about that. It's just more that was the feeling, was that, they felt that going into the tournament, there wasn't a plan for daily testing. Once the plan for daily testing came in and they were in contact with the general public that was, more exposed to this issue, it basically made what happened inevitable. And if that was inevitable, then that was a really poor, decision to operate as they did, knowing, basically, I'd say that Omicron really hit its stride in a bad way but in the last couple of minutes, or the last few days before players and teams were supposed to arrive. I mean, that's what changed.
Yeah, no, it was the worst possible timing with the, an incredibly highly contagious variant that ended up doing it in. I mean, I know you're very well connected, talking with people at the tournament, through teams. I mean, what have you heard within, for instance, USA Hockey, some of the Canadian, like, was everyone sort of just resigned to the fact that this had to happen? Or is there, would there be a number of parties that sort of believed that maybe they should have kept going, or there was another way to get around this?
The federations and the people that I've talked to in multiple federations feel that they were failed. They felt that there was more that could have been done. They felt that the tournament was too slow to react to the changing circumstances, that they were making decisions on the fly and the communication was very poor, and that, things were upsetting to them. They feel that the decision, I think that they all feel that the decision was the only one that could be made because the protocols were going to be what the protocols were. And if that wasn't going to change, then they weren't going to have it. I think the thing that is most frustrating to them is that a single positive test would force isolation for the entire team. And that, because at the last World Juniors, the German team had several players arrive with positive tests. And so them and their close contacts were forced into isolation. Germany was allowed to play with the minimum number of players necessary. They had 2 goaltenders and I think 15 skaters, and that was enough for them to do what they were supposed to do. So that was, I guess, the thing that frustrated them, is that there was no contingency for positives. Once a team tested positive and then it was a forfeit, that was a big surprise to them. So that was a huge part of the frustration. I know that the Finnish coach, who I haven't spoken with, but he did speak to the media in Finland, said that he didn't feel it was a COVID issue. He felt it was a tournament issue, that they did not appropriately respond to what happened, and they cost them an opportunity to play in the tournament. So there is a lot of finger pointing at this point at the IHF, at Hockey Canada, but I think there's also at the same time, there's an understanding that the situation changed. And so I think they're also mad at that there was something that was completely outside of their control that cost them this opportunity. But what doesn't give everybody the benefit of the doubt is that they ran a successful bubble at the last World Junior Championship where the only players that tested positive were players that arrived positive. There weren't any other positive tests that happened during that process. And so they felt if we could have, maybe if you could have had the foresight to deal with that, then you would deal with that. But this was a tournament that was in Canada for the sole purpose of the bubble being there last year. This was their way to recoup the finances that were lost from last year's tournament because there were no ticket sales or anything like that. Unfortunately, Omicron took over, and now they've essentially lost probably even more money than they would have otherwise. So it's like double trouble for Hockey Canada and for the IIHF, which is the ones that are footing the bill, and also the local organizing committee and the province of Alberta and the Edmonton Oilers and everybody else that was involved. So it is a huge financial burden ahead coming out of this.
Well, and let's just quickly touch on that because, of course, a big story heading into the tournament was the cancellation of 6 events, 2 men's events, 4 women's events in the month of January. And that started an entirely different conversation about equality for the women and whatnot. But I think one thing that everyone should understand is that many of those other events are paid for by the World Championships, the Olympics, and particularly the World Junior Hockey Championships. I mean, what does this do to the IIHF's ability to, continue with what they're doing? And I guess part of that is, is this salvageable? Do you think, or are you getting any idea that they may take another kick at the can at this tournament at some point later on at a more safer time?
They are definitely doing that. They are definitely trying to host another World Junior Championship with the same age group, with all the same eligible players in the summer. That's to them is the only time it'll be possible. They're thinking either late June or July as a potential site for the World Juniors. They are also planning to try and figure out what to do with the other tournaments that were canceled in January, including the Women's World Under 18 Championship. You're 100% right. The funding from the World Juniors and the Men's World Championship pay for everything. I mean, without those, the other tournaments are unable to go on. They're not able to have as many divisions. They're not able to have that level of promotion and things that happen beneath the World Junior and World Men's Championship and World Women's Championship levels. So it is an important financial capability for that. However, the IIHF I feel is very well funded. I feel that they have certainly the last year has hurt their pocketbook. But if there's a will, there's often a way, which is why I think there were a lot of people that were really upset that they just outright canceled the Women's World Under 18s before ever announcing a postponement. And it wasn't until the rest of us out here were criticizing the IIHF by saying, why not postpone it or at least explore other options? So apparently over the next month for both this tournament and the others, the IIHF is going to put together a feasibility study of how to put these tournaments together. Will the same players be invited? I think they would love to do that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, because we don't know who's going to be available. Owen Power should be signed with the Buffalo Sabres by that point, as should Jake Sanderson with the Ottawa Senators. So, I mean, those players are potentially not going to be available because the decision is no longer solely theirs. It's also their teams. And so, because neither of those guys are under NHL contract right now. So there are a lot of logistical issues ahead to try and make this happen. And certainly the hope is that they would host it in Canada. They would host it in a situation that would help the fans get into the building so that there could be a revenue stream. Certainly TV rights and things like that also help pay some of the bills, but they really do rely on those ticket sales. So there are so many moving parts to this and so many things that have to break just right to get both the World Juniors, the World Women's Under 18s, and all the other second tier tournaments, second and third tier tournaments that they want to try to hold and see what they can do with it. I just don't know if it will happen. I hope it does. I just don't know if it will.
Chris Peters with us discussing the cancellation of the World Junior Hockey Championships here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Your main interest in this is the actual players in the games. I know we're talking about everything off the ice. We didn't get a ton of hockey, but we did get some games in. I mean, I guess from my perspective, the big story was It wasn't even about next year's draft. It's about the following one with Michkov and Bedard. I mean, what did you see from those? And for folks that maybe weren't aware of Michkov, at least, I know everyone's heard of Connor Bedard. What do you see from those two players? And when we're talking about them as prospects, where do they rank for you amongst some of the best 1-2 punches we've seen in drafts over the past 20 years?
Boy, it's going to be fun. I mean, I feel like we're talking about, we haven't seen a 1-2. I mean, I'd say McDavid and Eichel were pretty good 1-2. These guys could be better. I think you've got 1A, 1B here. I don't think there's a ton of separation between the two of them. I think the thing that only really separates them is that Matvei Michkov is under contract until 2026. So you got to wait for him if you draft them. So here's the deal with both players. I think they're special. No question about it. They are very different. They're both incredible goal scorers. But they do it in a very different way. I'd say that Bedard is a bit more explosive. He's a little bit more flashy. There's some more puck skill to him. I would say that Michkov is the far more cerebral player. He's calculating. He just decides that he will score goals. And he scored 2 that were really fluky in the first game. And then he scored a classic Michkov goal where he just, found a seam and ripped the shot and it was perfect. I've never seen a player with his level of offensive timing. I've never seen a player with his anticipation skills. I think he's got some of the best offensive hockey sense I've ever seen. And he's not a big guy. He's not particularly strong, and he's not particularly explosive as a skater. But he is a smart hockey player who simply knows how to score goals. And I would, I think the difference is going to be that Bedard will be the number 1 pick because he doesn't have that same KHL contract situation. Whoever gets him is going to be thrilled because he is a legit number 1 guy that will be a difference maker for a team for a number of years. But you're looking at Michkov and you're saying, could this guy be one of the great scorers of all time? Could he be one of the guys that legitimately threatens records and assuming he comes over soon enough, because he's not going to be like Alex Ovechkin, who came over at the first possibility that he could. That won't be the case with Matvei Michkov. So I'm really looking forward to seeing both of those two guys progress over the years. I'm devastated that we won't be able to see them continue. Bedard had his 4-goal game. Michkov had already had 3 goals. I know they were watching each other's stat lines and going back and forth. I think that we are looking at two. We throw around generational too much, but I want to say we're looking at 2 very, very special players that will be superstars in the National Hockey League.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's just say that the KHL contract didn't exist and they're both going in. Is there one guy that, just based on their talent and how they project to being NHLers that stands above the other in your mind?
It's so hard because of how different they are. I still lean towards the more dynamic, explosive player in a Bedard. I think that he'll be able to impact the game in a few more ways than Michkov can. But the other thing about Michkov is he is mean. He is nasty. He gets after it. He digs for pucks. He fights for his offense. And he's a little better at that than Connor Bedard is at this point in time. I think we have to wait and see if Connor's going to grow anymore. He's about 5'9". Michkov is about 5'10" or so. So they're right in the same range size-wise. They're not huge guys. But, I think that for me, Bedard, and this is throwing the contract out, Bedard has a little bit more pop to him. The thing about Michkov is hockey sense is always the number 1 thing that I look at in a prospect. And I really do feel that he is one of the elite. I feel he's an offensive genius because his goal scoring is not like he just blows pucks past goalies. His net sense and everything else, that's how he scores goals. He's one of the more special players that I've had the chance to watch.
Chris Peters, this has been great. Hey, just on the way out, everyone in the chat here in Winnipeg will kill me if I don't ask you about Cole Perfetti. And I'll throw Chaz Lucius in as well. I mean, I know we didn't get to see a ton of those, but I mean, just your thoughts on those 2 Jet first rounders and how they're projecting going in. Many people think we might see Cole Perfetti with the Jets at some point this season, but just, maybe talk quickly about their tournament and where they sit in as NHL prospects in your mind.
Yeah, so going into the tournament, Cole Perfetti was my pick to win the scoring title. And I think he unofficially ends up with the most points in the tournament. He had 6 points in the tournament. So I win. But anyway, so Cole Perfetti, similar to Michkov, I think Cole Perfetti is one of the most dynamic playmakers, and because of his vision and his hockey sense. He makes incredible passes, incredible reads, always puts the puck in the right place at the right time. Love his decision making. I think he's also a smart individual. I think he was the Scholastic Player of the Year in the OHL as well. So, he's book smart on top of being hockey smart. And in this tournament, we saw a dominant player. We saw a player who was dictating the pace, who was making sure that he was making plays, making everyone around him better. And the precision in his game is second to none. I mean, he is a very refined hockey player. The different, I think the things that are concerns is that, certainly the size, and certainly he's not the most explosive skater. But when you have the intelligence that he does, I think that more than makes up for it. And I feel like he's going to be a special player as well. I think he's I hope he does get more opportunities with the Jets this year. I think it's good that he's played in the AHL for the last 2 seasons and had a chance to play against pros, because he's playing against older, stronger players. But I'm really excited about him. As far as Chaz Lucius goes, the thing that Chaz hopefully will happen, and this is all a luck thing, is he needs to stay healthy. He's had some issues with injuries over the last couple of years that have really knocked him back a little bit. But he's a dynamically skilled player. He has really quick hands, a great shot. I really like the way that he does pretty much everything in his game. But the one thing that I think that we saw at the World Juniors in the one and only game, and so you take it with a grain of salt, but I've watched him play in college as well, is that his pace is going to have to improve for him to be a more impactful player. That was the big knock on him coming into the draft, is that does he have the pace to be able to be that dynamic of an offensive player? Will he keep up with the play? I think he's a really smart kid. I think he's also getting stronger, and as he stays healthy and is able to play more, I think that there are going to be elements of his game that will improve. He did draw 2 penalties that led to 2 power play goals for Team USA, and that showed that he's not just a skill guy. He was making those plays based on effort as well. And he's a competitor. He grew up in pretty well off and had a lot of advantages that a lot of the players don't, in terms of the amount of hockey training that he got from a young age and individual training, and it shows. And I think that players like him are creative and will continue to be. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him develop. I think he's still got a few years at Minnesota, 2, maybe even 3, before you bring him out. But I do think he's going to be a player for the Jets down the road.
Chris, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time. People are really enjoying the chat. Fill us in on what you've got going on over at Daily Faceoff. And I know there's a lot of people that would like to hear more from you, especially on the World Juniors and the prospects. Fill us in on the Talking Hockey Sense podcast too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So most of my reporting on the World Juniors is available at dailyfaceoff.com. I'll also have draft rankings and things coming very soon on that as well. Was certainly hoping that we would have a World Juniors to add to that, but we don't. And then I also have my Substack, hockeysense.substack.com, Hockey Sense with Chris Peters, which is another place where I opine and write and do all sorts of different things for hockey fans that are prospect specific. And then, as you mentioned, Talking Hockey Sense is the podcast. I'll have a special episode available tomorrow. It's available wherever you get podcasts. I'm taking questions on Twitter right now for the most, the things that people want to know most about the World Juniors. It's going to be a complete debrief of everything that I've learned and know on the podcast. So if you don't subscribe to Hockey Sense, or you haven't seen it on Talking or on Daily Faceoff, you'll be able to listen to it on that podcast.
Well, get on it. Fill in the inbox for your questions coming out of this World Juniors cancellation for Chris. He's at Chris M. Peters on Twitter, and definitely check out the pod and the work over at Daily Faceoff. Chris, thanks a lot. I mean, I guess we're going to have to, watch the college football playoff or something on New Year's Eve. I know we were all planning on watching Canada, Finland. And heck, we have a Jets game canceled as well. They were supposed to be playing in Calgary, but we will get through it. And listen, we want to wish you all the best for 2022. Thanks so much. This is a great conversation. And hopefully we can have you back on Winnipeg Sports Talk in the new year.
Yeah, same to you, Hustler. Thanks so much for having me, man. It's always great to be with you.
Beautiful. All the best. There he is, Chris Peters. That was awesome. An unfortunate topic to really get into. With the disappointment of the tournament not going forward, but a really great mind when it comes to scouting. One of Frank's guys over at Daily Faceoff, and definitely if you're into prospect evaluation, draft prospecting and whatnot, check out the Talking Hockey Sense podcast. That was Chris Peters. All right, still lots to come. Of course, it is New Year's Eve. I was joking with Chris Abbott from Coolbet on the podcast, the Lock Shot podcast earlier today, that with bars and everything closing at 10 o'clock, we're going to need to have a Newfie New Year's here where we, in fact, celebrate New Year's when it's midnight in Newfoundland, which is 9:30 here. That'll give you half an hour to cheers your friends and then get the heck out of the bar. Obviously, most people are staying home and probably smart right now. But if you do want to make the best of your New Year's, make sure you ring it in with some Little Brown Jug. Of course, they've got the iconic 1919 brand. The winter variety pack with 4 different beers is phenomenal, as well as the new Brute IPA, brewed this month, celebrating their 5-year anniversary. It is a champagne-like extra dry IPA with flavors of citrus and stone fruit. Definitely goes well with your New Year's celebration. And check them out online at littlebrownjug.ca. They do have delivery services in Winnipeg and so much more. And if you're out and about, pop in, say hi, and check out their amazing facility down on William Avenue at the tap room. Of course, a big happy new year and thanks to our friends at Princess Auto. I'd really hoped that we'd be doing some extensive Princess Auto curling reports all week, talking about what was supposed to be happening out in Portage La Prairie at the mixed curling Olympic qualifications. That, like the World Juniors and so many other things, has been mothballed. We'll cover the story as to how they're going to select our mixed representatives going forward. But of course, Princess Auto, great supporter of curling and Winnipeg Sports Talk, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Family owned, headquartered nationwide right here in Winnipeg, 2 local locations. And of course, you can also order and shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. And well, it is a little disappointing. We won't be gathering at BP to watch the Canada-Finland game on New Year's Eve. However, your Boston Pizza, local Boston Pizza, is still there for you. Dining room and lounge at 50% right now. And while everyone stays home, you can still get the great taste of Boston Pizza delivered right to you. Hit up your local BP by phone or go online to bostonpizza.com. Get those gourmet pizzas, Boston wings, and so much more delivered quick and easy. Big thanks to BP for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, we've got lots to get to. Let's get Remis back in here. And Remo, man, it's been a great show. I know it's a little bit of a quieter week with so many things being canceled, but it was an awesome conversation with Andrew Harris and a really, really interesting World Junior wrap-up with Chris Peters. That was a phenomenal flurry of information from Chris.
Oh, yeah. When he topped it off with some actual prospect information. I know a lot of people here pumped to see about the new... about Chaz Lucius and Cole Perfetti, how they perform, but also, a good look at the tournament, where it went wrong and, if it could have been salvaged. And I think there were a lot of changes, with the current climate. And I don't know if it was necessarily possible. I mean, it's unfortunate for everyone that was canceled, seeing a lot of interesting stuff come out on it. But yeah, it's I think the bottom line is just is really too bad.
Yeah, no, it sucks. I mean, I think if they could have possibly had an idea that there was at all a possibility, things would have been done very differently. But, there certainly will be a lot of soul searching and a lot of questions asked as to what did and what didn't happen, leading to the cancellation of the tournament. Darb Yor, our guy, thanks so much for the super chat. Weekly dime drop, best of the season all. Just got the time to drop in. Bummer about the juniors, eh? This insanity will all be over come the end of February. Patience is a virtue. Darb, happy new year to you. Thank you for the support. And goddamn, I hope that you are right. All right, no more guests today. We are going to, though, we've got a number of other hockey topics we want to get into right now. But Remo, we do have a little Winnipeg Sports Talk Best of 2021 trivia to get to. If people missed the debut of Winnipeg Sports Talk Trivia last week, it was a big hit. We do have a prize, a very, very nice Winnipeg Jets toque available for whoever takes it down today. So Remo, before we get into some of these other hockey stories, why don't you fill people in on how they get involved? We can get some people signing up and registered. And then when we're finished, hitting around some of these other topics, we can get into the trivia. Fill them in.
All right, I'm putting it up here. This is the QR code. I'll write it in chat. Crowd.live. Enter code EU9PR. EU9PR. So I'm putting it in chat. And hey, if you're listening to this portion on the podcast where we do the trivia, or you listened last time, let us know if you enjoyed it or not. I think it still comes through. We ask the questions. You can still play along. Obviously, you're not here live, but I think it still works. But there's the code. And
there it is. EU9PR. You want to go to crowd.live and enter the code. How many questions do we have? Is it a tenner?
This is a tenner. This is a 10 spot. 10
Perfect.
Spot.
So if you're in the chat right now, just click that link right at the top. Put in what is it? EU9PR. And in about 10 minutes or so, we will get into the trivia, and maybe I'll rip over and grab the toque and show you guys what we will be playing for in just a minute. So while everyone gets in, we only have 100 spots in it. So please get in as fast as you can if you do want to do it. And it looks like we've got 100 likes too. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. Please do help us out. It definitely helps us spread the channel. All right, Remo, while people sign up for the trivia, let's talk about a few of the other stories coming out of the National Hockey League. I mentioned Peyton Krebs making his Buffalo Sabres debut last night along with Alex Tuck in that loss to the Buffalo Sabres. Tough loss for the Oilers last night. But there is going to be a game played on the weekend. Of course, it is the Winter Classic. Minnesota Wild hosting, is it Nashville? The story, though,
yes.
Less about the actual.
It's Minnesota St. Louis. Nashville's playing Tampa in that other outdoor game.
That's right.
Where they have terrible jerseys. We can get into that later.
They do. But man, this game, I mean, we're all belly aching about the weather, and justifiably so. This is one of those deep freezes we inevitably get a couple times in the winter. But it sounds like this deep freeze is not only north of the border. It looks like daytime highs for the Twin Cities for a game in which 40,000 are expected to pack Target Field. The daytime high is going to be minus 20 Celsius. I mean, they're essentially dealing with pretty close to what we've got right now. And I know we all sat through the Western Final and talked about it with Andrew Harris earlier. This sounds like it is going to be extreme for Wild and Blues fans that are getting to the ballpark to see this game on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the article on NHL.com says the Winter Classic's going to go ahead despite extreme conditions. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I mean, extreme. This is extreme for the U.S. where, -5 gets kind of extreme. But then I went and Googled downtown Minneapolis weather because it's at Target Field. And here, Saturday, the day of the Winter Classic, -20. Feels like -30. And I was at the Bomber game, Huss. Like, being there as a fan, I can't imagine what it was like as a player. I thought the conditions were inhumane. So it seems like they're going to give her on it. But, we'll see how it goes. I guess maybe I'm more likely to tune in. But if you're a fan, I don't know how you can justify sitting there.
Well, you know what? They're a hardy bunch there in the state of hockey, much like we are here on the prairies. I know there's a border in between us, but back to the matter is, most times of the year, there's not a lot of difference between the weather in Minnesota, North Dakota, or right here in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And they're getting it too. So if you're planning on getting to the Winter Classic, bundle up. You're going to need it. And we will look forward to watching that game coming up on the weekend. Speaking of the Wild, Dean Evison got an extension. What a job he's done since taking over from Bruce Boudreau as an interim head coach.
Yeah, congratulations to him and his staff. Seems like he was waiting for the extension to be announced until they also did his staff. So I remember he was brought in. First of all, he's from Winnipeg as well. So shout out to that. And they have had some success. They have some definite new talent come in, like Kaprizov, much different than before. But you can't argue with the success they've had. Let's keep it going. And hopefully we can see Minnesota here soon. It was supposed to be the January 10 game and supposed to play again on Monday, but of course postponed. But I'm sure that'll be a rivalry that'll be going on for years to come.
No doubt about it. Now closer to home, and I hate to just keep on talking about postponements and cancellations, but unfortunately, that's the way things are right now. The WHL announced late yesterday the postponement of 4 WHL regular season games in Manitoba, Brandon, and Winnipeg. Interesting that it's just happening here, and maybe this is somewhat similar to what's happening with the Winnipeg Jets not wanting to play without any fans just because of the financial damage to the club. But there's 4 games. First of all, there was supposed to be a New Year's Day game in Brandon between Red Deer and the Wheaties. That game has now been moved to Monday, February 7th. And then 3 other games have been postponed and will be rescheduled at a later date. The Moose Jaw Warriors here in Winnipeg to take on the Ice at the Ice Cave on Monday, January 3rd. That one's off. Friday, January 7th, the Calgary Hitmen playing the Brandon Wheat Kings. And then the Hitmen scheduled to play against the Ice on Saturday, January 8th. Both of those games are off. If you do have tickets for those games, you're encouraged to hold on to your tickets, and further information from the host club's ticket office will be available. But, we do wonder right now, I mean, how exactly and at what point are the Jets going to be able to resume their home schedule, hopefully playing in front of fans here in Winnipeg. And it's trickling down to the junior clubs as well, Reem.
Yeah, I just thought Q's postponed for a while. So, we're just seeing postponement after postponement. I mean, it's kind of depressing looking at your timeline, but that's the way it is. And you hope that it can improve as, time, you wait a bit and then it should improve quickly. As Darbior said in the super chat us, what did he say? It'll be done February 22. So I'll say Darbior's super chat.
Hopefully that will be the take of 2021, calling a shot. We get through a few tough weeks and come back. And again, February was when, we had that big open space in the NHL schedule because the NHLers were supposed to be going to the Olympics. We know that's not happening right now. And the plan is, I would assume, for some of these games that the Jets have missed here in December and in early January to be made up at that point. But I think they're still a little ways away from really establishing a plan to get those games made up until we've got a better idea about where we're going with Omicron and what it's doing here in Manitoba. A few football notes. And by the way, I think I mentioned this at the top of the hour, but if you missed it, did get together with Dustin Nielsen for the latest edition of the Lock Shop. We won't talk a lot of NFL today on the program, but if you do want to get into some picks, our boosted partner parlay and all that, it's all there at Coolbet. It's all there on Twitter at Dusty's. I put it out at mine as well at Hustlerama. Search Lock Shop on your favorite podcast feed. All that's there for the weekend in the NFL. We do also have a boosted partner parlay. We'll let you know about that when we plug Coolbet in a minute. But first of all, hilarious. And I'm not sure whether this was Riley Mara, the young Scorsese, as Ed calls him, from the Bomber content team. But somebody from the Bombers social media team is locked up with their in-laws on the farm for the last 13 days. And I'm not sure whether it was just boredom or what, but put together a pretty hilarious tweet thread today involving cows, farming, and extreme cold. So certainly check that out.
Yeah. Do you want to do the call of the... Did you see this one, Huss?
Fire it up.
Okay, wait. This is where we're at. We're at that point of the pandemic, Huss, where the Bombers Twitter account is tweeting out, I don't know, what is this? Like, I don't even know how to describe this, but listen, here's the call. Hold on, I'm going to unmute. Here we go.
He's to the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40, the 45, center field 40, the 30, cuts it back at the 20, the 15, the 10, touchdown! He's to the 20.
Yeah, sorry, you couldn't hear that, but it is Bob Irving doing a call. He's at the 20, the 30, the 45 touchdown. So it is a tractor. For those on podcast, that was a tractor dumping a giant hay bale near a bunch of cows.
Perfect swish. Perfect execution by whoever was in that piece of machinery to drop that in for the cows. So, anything to occupy oneself through some downtime right now. Bombers Twitter and social media, just phenomenal. Always some entertaining stuff. There is a little bit of Bombers news, though, and this should be no surprise that DeAndre Alford, after the incredible season he had, a breakout star, a CFL All-Star, playing for that Blue Bomber defense, is getting plenty of NFL interest. And it sounds like the Detroit Lions are the next team to be hosting DeAndre Alford for a visit this week. The Lions taking on the Seattle Seahawks on the weekend. There's 7-point underdogs in the game. But listen, I can't be surprised at all. I mean, you knew that, when you win and play the way that defense did, historically great, there was going to be some opportunities for other players, especially the young guys. And, Alford coming in, playing the way that he did this year, should be absolutely no surprise that he's garnering some NFL interest, much like Winston Rose did coming out of 2019. Yeah,
I posted this on our Facebook page. This is a reminder. Follow us on there, Winnipeg Sports Talk, or just, I think it's in the description of this video down here. But I guess I had a typo on the Facebook post. I meant to write he was hosted by the Lions. I wrote hosed. And I think it was actually good for our Facebook engagement because I think if I post that, I don't know how many comments people get, people write, but
you're playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. So. The intentional misspelled word to get people going on Facebook.
I'm like PFT here. And shout out to Russell Etkow who commented, please spell check. You are the best sports programmer we have. Don't lower yourself to the bottom of the barrel. If we're the best, we're in trouble. So
take it easy, Russ. Take it easy, Russ.
Take it easy.
That's just a yellow card. Yellow card for Reem.
I think
and again, of all the things you could screw up, hosted into host actually is quite funny, I would say.
Yeah. And yes, Dan Milburn says, you can correct typos. Yes, once I was notified, I corrected it immediately. I don't know if that's bottom of the barrel making a typo, but I did. I'm blaming it on this keyboard. I have a new one coming in, so sorry about that for anyone who was offended. So sorry.
I hope we'll be able to go. Oh, and hosed might pass the spell check. That's the thing. That's certainly a word in my vocabulary. I'll tell you that much. All right, we're gonna get into it with the trivia. So one more time, folks, the link is at the top of the chat. Hit that one, crowd.live. The code is EU9PR. Remo will give you a minute to close that up while I let you know that our friends at Nick and Nicky DQ are still going throughout this deep freeze and 365 days a year now with all 4 locations, including the one in St. Vital on St. Anne's Road. There's the DQ in Niverville, the DQ Northgate, both of those with drive-throughs. You don't even have to get out of the car. The DQ in Polo Park if you're at the mall, and of course the DQ at St. Anne's, which as I mentioned is now open year-round. And you can get those amazing hamburgers, fries, chicken fingers, blizzards, and more by ordering on Skip the Dishes and DoorDash. Of course, those DQ ice cream cakes are great 12 months a year, even when it's cold outside. If you've got a party or an event coming up, maybe for New Year's, hit them up on Instagram at DQ Manitoba. They'll get something done up quick and easy for you, ready for you to go and for pickup at any of the 4 Nick and Nicky DQs. Again, that is DQ Manitoba on Instagram. Tomorrow, Friday, our New Year's show, we will, of course, have the final marble race of the year. And our friends at Canadian Club have been such great sponsors of ours with the hoodies and the rye that we've been giving out. And we will do that one more time in 2021 tomorrow on the program. So make sure to join us on Winnipeg Sports Talk for the final marble race. And of course, Canadian Club, a great addition to any New Year's celebrations. And of course, we had Andrew Harris on earlier today. There's still our limited edition Blue Bomber 2021 Grey Cup champion Jim Beam cups available at your local Manitoba Liquor Mart. 18 of them in the city, 2 of them outside the city. So if you are looking for the Jim Beam promo, as we're seeing in the on the screen on YouTube right now, you can maybe call your local Manitoba Liquor Mart to make sure they've still got quantities left. But if you buy Jim Beam, you'll get one of the Jim Beam Blue Bomber Grey Cup champion mugs or glasses available in limited quantities throughout the city while supplies last. And of course, Canadian Club, great promos throughout the month of December as well. Look for the displays. You could win 5,000 bonus air miles and bonus air miles on all Canadian Club purchases. And let's get to quickly, I mentioned with Coolbet that we did the lock shop picks. All of the NFL is up. We'll talk a little bit more about the NFL coming up later on. But Remo, we got some big bowl games today, including, what is it, the Duke's Mayo Bowl?
Okay,
coming up a little later on today?
Did that already happen, or is that later? Because I'm seeing a lot of videos about mayo on Twitter. It's pretty gross. I'm like, what is happening with mayo? It's the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and the coach who wins gets mayo dumped on. Did this already happen?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just looking at right now. South Carolina beat North Carolina 38-21. I guess Steve Spurrier used to be the coach of South Carolina. It would have been hilarious to see the old ball coach get dunked in mayo. But yes, I mean, last night, a thriller at the Cheez-It Bowl where there was Cheez-Its all over the place. I really missed the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. That was one of my favorite obscure named bowl games. But yeah, we do have a bunch of bowl games today. You can get the lines at Coolbet right now. Just looking at, what do we have here? Purdue and Tennessee kicking off. Actually, that's tomorrow. No, today's the 30th, right? Mixing it up here. Purdue, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Michigan State tonight. Arizona at Wisconsin later on tonight. Wisconsin, a big 8.5-point favorite. And we touched on these a little bit in the lock shop, but the big games tomorrow that I think a lot of people will be watching now because there's no Canada-Finland, the college football playoff. Georgia and Michigan. Georgia, 7.5-point favorite. And earlier tomorrow afternoon, it's Bama. Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide, a big 13.5-point favorite against the Cincinnati Bearcats. You know, Zach Caleros and Travis Kelce, former Bearcats, are going to be pulling for their old team. As far as the NHL goes, actually a pretty busy night tonight. We do have some hockey to watch. Habs, Canes. Canes, obviously a massive favorite. Canadians decimated right now with the lineup. Nashville and Columbus, pretty much a pick 'em that game in CBJ. Tampa and Florida, the battle of the Sunshine State. Panthers a -143 favorite. Islanders -217 over the Buffalo Sabres, who played last night. Calgary at the Kraken. The Flames a -179 road favorite. The Canucks look to go 8 in a row. They're a road underdog. I don't know. I think I might just keep riding with Bruce. Didn't he call his shot? 10 in a row would be great on the cameo that he did. Canucks +117 on the road at the Kings. And the final game tonight, the Philadelphia Flyers at the San Jose Sharks. Flyers +142 on the road. Sharks laying -169. And bet builders are now available for hockey on Coolbet. You can pop on a game and you can essentially do an in-game parlay. You can say, I think this team's going to win. I think this guy's going to score. I think there's going to be total goals, and put it all in together for a much bigger payout. Click on the game, click on Bet Builder, and have a little fun with that. Of course, if you've never played at Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. And all the NFL picks and the partner parlay are up at the Lock Shop. And of course, you can get the Lock Shop partner parlay over at Coolbet. All right. Remo, there's only one thing left to do, and let's see who our trivia champion will be today. Fill people in on how this is all going to work. I'm just going to go grab the toque to show people what we're playing for.
Yes. So here we go. I'm going to put this on. We're going to do this trivia. If you want, there's a couple spots left. We can do max 100. We have about 63. So your chances are pretty good right now. These are questions about Winnipeg sports in 2021. You may remember some of these events. You may completely forget about them. I have no idea. But if you want to get in, proud.live, code EU9PR. Open it in another browser. You can scan the QR code with your phone, and apparently on iPhone, you don't even need a QR app. You just pull out your camera and take a picture of it. It'll take you right to the website, and you don't even have to put in the thing. And I'm seeing a lot of mayo. I just want to weigh in on mayo because a lot of people are giving hot takes on mayo on Twitter because of that Duke's Mayo Bowl. I saw the broadcasters dip Oreos in mayo, and the winning coach got mayo dumped on him. I would never do it. I would need extra money, I think, to do that. I would not allow them to dump mayo on me. That is disgusting. And I like mayo on like a sandwich or a burger, but I don't like it enough to dunk an Oreo in it. Pretty nasty. So
I like mayo. I like Oreos. Doesn't sound very good together. And maybe at some point when we have some sort of outlandish bet, I'm going to try to get you to commit to getting mayo dunked on you. If you
Zero chance
at some point in 2022.
How do you even fill up a Gatorade thing with mayo? Like, how are you doing that? You're not going to the store and buying a bunch of 500 ml bottles and dumping them in, are you?
No, definitely. We're talking to the good people at Duke's or whoever the mayo company will be sponsoring you getting mayoed.
They're like Stone Cold Steve Austin. They got like the hose. He's got a hose of mayo. Stone Cold.
Oh, man. Nothing will ever top Kurt Angle with the milk truck. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess close it up and let's get her going. Folks, we've got two great prizes. We've got a prize, your choice. One of these two awesome Jets toques from Royal Sports. You can pop by and see they got so much great stuff over at Royal. Here's the first one. This is the retro reverse toque. Very, very cool. I love just see if I can do a better job of putting that out there. So there's the retro reverse one. And here is the Heritage Classic one. Very, very nice. Nice little shiny NHL thing on the back. That's hockey. So whoever wins, you'll get the choice of whichever style you want. And we'll put that out. So Remo, we've got 10 questions. We put these together last night, just sort of putting it together. Oh, and by the way, one thing I meant to get to, just as we get into trivia, a huge shout out and congratulations to Desiree Scott and the Canadian national women's soccer team, who was announced today as Canada's Team of the Year. Hell of a choice. Anyone that was watching Winnipeg Sports Talk throughout that event knew how into it I was. And I think a lot of people got on the bandwagon as we went through the tournament. But I mean, just a magical ending for Desiree and the girls. And I think Desiree might come up in this event, so I won't talk too much about it until we get into the trivia. But a huge congratulations to Des and the women that made us so proud winning that gold medal. All right, Remo, well, let's get this thing fired up.
All right, let's go. And we do have our trivia song, Huss, thanks to Tristan Rivers Music.
yes. And can you make sure that I can hear this when you play it?
Yeah, I set it up for you. I got to find the button with the song, but it is... Oh, yeah, here. I remember where it is. Okay, here. Ready for the song?
It's officially trivia time on WST when Tristan Rivers drops.
Oh, yeah.
Think of losing marble races where others have won twice. Want to play a game of skill instead of rolling dice? You can use the marbles in your hand. Wheel sports knowledge precise. Take it to your hands, your own fate, and a secondary device. Scan the QR, enter name. Answer on that screen to play. Scan the QR, enter name. Follow on that screen, the stream's delay. Only have an hour to write this, so here's a lazy rhyme. It's trivia time.
Oh,
Absolutely epic contribution to the show from the legend himself, Tristan Rivers Music. Give him a follow on Twitter.
so I emailed Tristan actually about doing some other themes for us, Huss. And he responded. I was shocked to read this. He's like, by the way, you know, everything I do doesn't have to be influenced by 80s hair metal. I'm like, what? It's like, it just ends up that way. I'm like,
Hustlerama Tristan Rivers rap single coming up in 2022. Get ready for it. I've got bars, everyone. You know that.
yeah, so I'll have to get in touch with him. Maybe we'll get some like videos go along so we don't have to sit here like nodding our heads and air guitaring.
I love it. And of course, we should hopefully have the return of Kenny and Rennie after the game on Sunday. And of course, Tristan, in addition to be a WST hardcore supporter and with us often in the program, also the brains and the genius behind the Enter Kenny song and the Sean's Headband song as well. By the end of 2022, there should be an album, a Tristan Rivers album of just Winnipeg sports online songs that we can put together. Maybe we'll put it out and raise some money for charity or something like that. But man, he does a great job.
We'll put it on Spotify or something.
Yeah.
I know how to do that. I know how to get them on there. So we'll figure it out.
Right on. Okay, folks, 10 questions. The winner will get their choice of these two toques. And I guess the thing that's important to know, if you missed the first time, we're going to ask you a question. There'll be 4 possible answers. It's multiple choice. But the key is to answer correctly as soon as possible. The faster you answer correctly, the more points you get. Again, the topic today on Trivia Time for Winnipeg Sports Talk is 2021 in Winnipeg sports. Remis, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure I put in all the answers correctly. One last check my work, because I didn't check my work earlier on our Facebook page, and someone
from a spelling mistake.
I made a spelling mistake.
Bottom of the barrel. You hit rock bottom.
Apparently, a typo. Changing hosted to hosed. Bottom of the story. I'm really sorry about that one. I got a new keyboard. It has bigger keys, so I'm pretty sure these are all correct. But you never know. It's important to double check your work. I never did that on my test at school. Did you check your work after? No, I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
No, I just submitted it.
I was so bad at that, checking my work. Never. It's probably explains a lot.
All right, so we good. There's no screw ups in our excellently curated questions.
Yeah, you and I did these, so
these are homegrown questions put together by us. We are not playing in it, so good luck to everyone. 10 questions. Winner gets their choice of 2. You can pick that up at some point convenient over the next little while. It's trivia time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Let's go with question number 1. Good luck, everybody.
All right, I'm starting the countdown. We got 10 seconds. My daughter says, we got to draw it out, Trevor Red Ranger. We got to get as many people. We got 81 in chat. Here we are. First question.
Okay.
All right. What did Winnipeg's downtown arena change its name to in 2021? Starting off with one I think everyone should get. We don't do practice questions, Huss, but this is about as close. Is it Canada Life Place, Canada Life Arena, Canada Life Garden, or Canada Life Center? To come up with the options, Huss, I did have to Wikipedia what every arena was named. Christopher Metz has already messed it up. See, I didn't think this was as easy. You're like, oh, everyone's going to get that. I'm like, I don't know. All
right. I would imagine most people would get it right. It would be D, Canada Life Center. And let's see who's at the top of the list after one question.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's see how many people got it, though. 59% of people got
Interesting.
I told you, wasn't it much of a gimme as you thought.
I thought it was a bit of a tap-in, but anyways, all right. So 59% correct, and let's get to the standing. Oh, Mr. Roboto, great name, Eagle Eyes and Bear, but a ton of people way up there. All right, question number 1 in the books. Let's move on to question number 2.
All right.
Here we go. Okay. Which Winnipeg Jets player scored in triple overtime of Game 4 to clinch the first round series versus the Edmonton Oilers? Was it Paul Stastny, Nikolai Ehlers, Kyle Connor, or Dominic Toninato?
Yeah, had to. I mean, you think of 2021, Huss, and you think of the Jets series versus Edmonton, so I had to include a question. And Frosty says this has to be 90%. I would
think so.
It is Kyle Connor.
KFC delivering in triple OT. You remember it well. Man, that series was awesome. There wasn't a lot of great things that happened in 2021, but sweeping the Oilers out of the playoffs is definitely a highlight, right up there with the best. And even though the Jets bowed out quickly through four games to Montreal, they can never take that away from us the way Edmonton tormented us all those years. So 62% got KFC right. Another 22% thought it may have been Nikolai Ehlers. And 8% wrong on number 1 and number 2. No Paul Stastny, no Toninato, was Kyle Connor.
Yeah, Dan Millman says I was hammered. I don't remember, but you might be having
It was triple OT.
Yeah,
that happens.
It was very late, I remember. And Ehlers scored another overtime winner in that series. Stastny had one as well, and Toninato with the winner in game 1. It wasn't an overtime, though, but Turd Ferguson jumps up to the top with one bird. Bayer, he's got 2. He's 2 for 2. I see T-Well. Dallas is in there. So we'll see how it goes.
Still very close. I mean, you look, Ishaboy Bruce is at 14th in the teens. They're in the 20s. So, I mean, still lots of many questions and lots of time to bounce back. Let's move on to question number 3.
Which of the following players was protected by the Jets in the 2021 expansion draft? Was it Jansen Harkins, Dylan DeMello, Logan Stanley, or Nathan Beaulieu? This was a topic we debated for many weeks here.
If people were watching a lot of WST earlier in the year heading into the draft, this certainly was. Harkins, DeMello, Stanley, Beaulieu. The Jet that was protected in the Seattle expansion draft was, in fact, C. Big Stan, Logan Stanley. One of my better takes and predictions throughout the season, I will say, since we started the show. All right, so Logan Stanley is in. We're 3 questions down. Let's see how many people got it.
85%.
85%. Nicely done, everybody. Nicely done. Shows that you've been paying attention to Winnipeg sports talk and the Jets throughout the year. And where does that leave our standings heading into the fourth question?
I don't think anything changed. Turd, Ferguson, T-Will, and Bayer, 1, 2, and 3. I see One Bird and Phyllis in there, Frosty, Leighton. So we got there's
still
a
very, very tight. Very tight. I mean, one wrong answer and you're bounced from the top, and one great answer, you can get right back up to it. All right. Remis had 3. I'll go with question number 4. Here it comes. WST Trivia time for 2021. Which Winnipeg Ice player won the 2021 WHL Player of the Year award? Of course, they played in the bubble, 24 games. Was it Connor McLennan? Was it Peyton Krebs, Owen Paterson, or Connor Geekie? Again, this is the bubble 24-game season earlier this year. There were player awards, and an ice player won the Player of the Year award. McLennan, Krebs, Paterson, or Geekie are your options. It is closed. Remo, let's get to the answer.
Peyton Krebs.
Peyton Krebs made his Buffalo Sabres debut last night for his new team. Of course, Krebs, one of the key pieces going to the Buffalo Sabres from Vegas in the Jack Eichel trade. All right. How many people got Peyton Krebs? 82%. Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done. You guys have been paying attention to the ice. Where does that leave our standings right now heading into question number 5, Reem?
Similar. Turd Ferguson is number 1. One Bird is 2. And Bayer at 3. I see Ishaboy Bruce in there at 4. I see Tristan. Chris Strevel's fur coat is 21. Bunch of people have all 4 correct. So I think you're in striking distance if you have that.
Absolutely. So Turd has a 13-point lead on One Bird right now as we get to just about the midway point. This is question number 5 as we continue the best of 2021 for Winnipeg Sports Talk Trivia. Remo, you take 5.
Where did the Winnipeg Goldeyes open their season? Was it Jackson, Tennessee, Fargo, North Dakota, Winnipeg, Manitoba, or Sioux Falls, South Dakota? And we were waiting for the Goldeyes.
This was their temporary home, by the way, not a road game. Where did they play their home games to begin the season before being able to come back to Winnipeg?
Did they? Yes. I guess if they started as a road game, they would not have owned. But what was their home stadium is the question.
Exactly. So you got Jackson, Tennessee, Fargo, North Dakota, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the answer is?
It was Jackson, Tennessee. I guess I may have had confusing wording. I should have wrote what was their home stadium to open the season.
That's okay, though. Whoops. I think everyone kind of figured out what we were talking about. Let's see.
I'm just bottom of the barrel. Here,
Get it together.
Bottom of the barrel. But apparently we're the best sports programmers we have. Apparently.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, what do we got here? Who got it right? How many people?
56% of people.
Okay. Nicely done. 56%, although this could be a bit of a separator. Interesting to see what this does to the standings as we get to the midway point.
Now, did more people know this than knew that the downtown arena was called Canada Life Center?
I think it was close. It was close, though.
We're doing some market research here with that one. I'll have to send that to the people at Canada Life. They don't know that they're used to the old one as a place. All right, here we are. Bayer and One Bird. Now 1 and 2. SE is number 3.
Turd Ferguson took a spill down the standings after that one. Must have.
He's number 13. He got it right, but he wasn't as quick. It's about speed here.
So Bayer first place, 445. One Bird is just 6 points back at 239, and SE is at 425. All right, we're halfway through. 5 more questions to go. These are going to be some good ones. I'm going to give you question number 6 as soon as it comes up right now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Here we go. Who scored the most touchdowns for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 2021? Was it Kenny Lawler? Was it Nick Dembski? Was it Andrew Harris? Or was it Sean McGuire? Lawler, Dembski, Harris, McGuire. Who scored the most touchdowns for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the 2021 season?
Yeah, this is a pretty good question. Someone who frequently took other players in fantasy, I always got annoyed when Sean McGuire
would punch everyone
in. Yes, the correct answer is Sean McGuire.
I'm interested to see. I can't wait to see the results of this one.
Torturing fantasy players. You sent this to me, and I looked at it, and I was like, my first thought was Lawler, and I'm like, wait a second.
No.
It was Sean McGuire. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. 58% knew it was Sean McGuire.
Nicely done, everyone. That's impressive. Impressive. So 29% were in on Lawler, 7 and 6, but 58% of you, 42 correct answers, had Sean McGuire. What does that do to the standings?
Andrew Harris, I mean, it took him in fantasy all the time, expecting some touchdowns, and he would take it down to the 1, and then they just bring in Sean McGuire.
McGuire had the most hilarious stat lines. He'd have 3 carries for 3 yards and 2 touchdowns. That would be it. And then, yeah, exactly. It really killed. Okay, Bear still on top, 540. Onebird is at 533. SE at 515. A little bit of separation. 3 players in the 500s right now, but still 4 more questions. 1 mistake, as we saw what happened to Turd Ferguson, and you can fall precipitously down the list. All right, Remo is going to fill you in on question number 7 coming up right now.
Who did the Blue Bombers beat in the 2021 CFL season opening game at IG Field? Was it the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the Ticats, Edmonton Elks, or the BC Lions? This is a huge game, national TV event, first CFL game in, almost 2 years. Great. It was a great experience. We were there. It was like a party. Very fond memories. But the answer, of course, is B, the Ticats, the team they also beat in the Grey Cup. And how many people do you think got this one? As I would say most people.
I'm saying 77%.
All right, we will see. And it was 75. That was pretty good.
You know what? I've been
our audience.
Making up all these lines on Coolbet. I figured it'd be a good bookmaker. All right, so 75% got it right. How quickly did they get it right? That's a key thing, and we'll find out what that does to the standings right now. Oh, look how tight this is.
Yes.
Bear and Onebird, I mean, just going toe-to-toe right now. Bear's at 627, Onebird's at 625, and SE is at 598. We're coming down to the short strokes. We've got 3 questions left. This coming up is question number 8. I'll fire it off to you as soon as Remis throws it up. Question number 8 coming up, and here it is. How many Olympic medals has Desiree Scott won with the Canadian women's national team? How many Olympic medals has Desiree Scott now won with Team Canada? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Put in your answer. You've got 5 seconds left. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Des Scott, part of Canada's Team of the Year that I just mentioned. Of course, winning that gold medal in such thrilling fashion and inspiring the entire country. Still fired up about that. One of my favorite sports moments of the entire year. The answer, of course, is 3. But finally got the gold this year in the event of the 2020 games, as it were, in 2021. All right, let's see how everyone did on that one.
Yeah, it's your boy Bruce writing trick question. I don't think it's a trick at all. It says Olympic medals. There's no tricks. But 45%.
45%. All right. Let's see what that is. Come on. Not a lot of you guys have been following our women's team. Couple bronzes and now a gold medal. 3 Olympic medals. Des Scott, certainly the most decorated soccer player ever coming out of this province. And probably, right up there with the most decorated soccer players of all time when you think about it. Onebird pops into the lead, a 12-point lead over Bayer right now. Dandu is in 3rd place. And Dandu's still absolutely in striking distance if the leaders get one wrong. We've got 2 more questions in our Best of 2021 Winnipeg Sports WST Trivia. Remo will give you question number 9 right away. And again, shout out to Des, the queen, and her 3 Olympic medals. All right, your question 9. Let's do it.
All right, question 9. We got 2 more. Second last one. Here it is. Which Manitoba women's curling team will represent Canada at the 2022 Olympics in Beijing? Is it Tracy Fleury, Jennifer Jones, or Carrie Einerson? Of course, you were at the Olympic curling trials. Great week.
Great week. Saw it all happen.
Mm-hmm.
And really, those three teams throughout the entire event were right there. Of course, it came down to an all-Manitoba matchup in the final. And it was, in fact, speaking of queens, Jennifer Jones, the best to ever do it, going back to the Olympic Games once again. This is going to be, I think, 90%.
80, yeah, man,
88%.
88%. Man, you're like on fire on these guesses. Holy crap.
All right, let's see where we finish up here with one question to go. Who is in the lead? It's still one. Oh my God, we're coming down to it. 796 to 791. Not quite a 2-horse race between One Bird and Bear. I see Hooman getting into the mix, climbing up into third place. But very, very impressive results so far. But One Bird, a 5-point lead over Bear, heading in to the final question. I hope you're all prepared for it, especially you guys at the top. You're playing for your choice of one of these two cool Jets toques from Royal Sports. If you can see this one very well, I can't see the logo. Anyways, they're both nice. All right, I'm ready for you. Question number 10, the final question on our 2021 Winnipeg Sports Talk Trivia.
Are you reading this one, this last one?
Yeah, I'll read this one. I'm ready to go. I'm fired up for it too.
Okay, let's give her.
Number 10. Which Winnipeg Jets player does not have a father who played in the National Hockey League? Is it Paul Stastny? Is it Adam Lowry? Is it Christian Reichel? Or is it Pierre-Luc Dubois? Which Jet does not have a father who played in the NHL? A is Stastny, B is Lowry, C is Reichel, and D is Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, this was, a lot of talk about Jets players' dads this year. Of course, Lowry's dad is the coach. Paul Stastny, talk about his family. Pierre-Luc Dubois' father is with the Moose. But I had to look this one up. The answer is D, Pierre-Luc Dubois. His father, Eric Dubois, is assistant coach for the Moose, but he did not play in the NHL. I think he played in the ECHL and in Europe as well. So let's see how many people got this one.
Christian Reichel's father was Robert Reichel,
Yes.
of the Calgary Flames back in the day.
That is correct. And he's practicing on the third line today. We'll have to wait and see. He got in his first game the other day. But here we go. Let's see how many got this one. 74%.
74%. Nice. Now let's see if that shakes up the standings at the top of the list.
All
Who
right.
is our winner? Drum roll.
One Bird.
Nicely done, One Bird. One Bird was right at the top throughout it, going neck and neck with Bear and with Turd Ferguson. But One Bird is our champion today for another episode of Trivia Time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. That was a lot of fun. One Bird, congratulations. Fire us an email or hit us up on Twitter with a DM. You can let us know whether you want the Heritage toque or the reverse retro toque. Kind of like the reverse retro one. Anyways, they're both really nice. You let me know. We'll figure out a time to pick it up. And great way to end the show, man. One more program in 2021, and we will do it tomorrow. Scott Billick's going to join us. We'll really get ready for this Jets road trip. Billick's popping on. Fingers crossed that Kenny will be maybe not necessarily out of quarantine, but off the DL and able to join us. We hope that will be the case. And we'll talk about some of our favorite Winnipeg sports stories, many of them that we sort of talked about in the trivia in our final show of 2021. That's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Andrew Harris for joining us earlier today, as well as Chris Peters with just a phenomenal conversation on the cancellation of the World Junior Championships. If you pop by later, rewind or check the podcast to check all of that out. Once again, big thanks to all of our sponsors. Don't forget F Apparel, Royal Sports, big Boxing Day sales right now. Lots going on at Vita Health heading into the new year. And if you're thinking about making those changes, Vita Health definitely is the spot to get into. You try to clean things up when you get into January. Culligan Water, Manitoba Battery, they're busy right now, but if you do need a battery, you've got issues with the car, those are the people to go to. I'm Not AutoCorp, Little Brown Jug, and Canadian Club Whiskeys. We get ready for New Year's Eve in a little bit of a different way this year. Princess Auto, Boston Pizza, the Nick and Nikki DQ Group, and of course, Coolbet Canada. Great show today. Thanks for everyone that joined us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already on the way out. Stay warm, stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you one more time in 2021 tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And congratulations again to One Bird for winning trivia today on WST. Have a great night, everybody.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.